Again, thank you all for being here. So we'll go ahead and start. Today, we're launching Love Your Energy, which is a show about energy, which would cover breaking news, trends, and research as well. Like today, exclusive interviews and events. Sometimes those interviews and events will be part of how we're breaking the news and the trends and the research. And so today, we're happy to have our first guest for episode one, Jason Rodriguez from Zpryme, and Erin Autin from Zpryme as well, and Emilio Collado, and Amy Atchley. Amy is from Austin Energy, and Yoda Energy. I hope I'm saying that right, Emilio. Yoda, like on Star Wars, or uh, if it's Yoda.
It's technically Yada, yeah.
Yoda. I figured, but I wanted to say Yoda, so I wanted to say that wrong. I like I like Star
You're
Wars.
good. You're good.
Yeah, so welcome all, and I'll start with Jason. So, Jason Rodriguez is the CEO of Zpryme, and the reason for putting this show together, it's been a long journey getting to this point. So, I'd like to have Jason share a little bit about Zpryme, and then as well the Love Your Energy theme, where it came from, and what we hope to accomplish by the show. Welcome to the show, Jason.
Thanks, Les. Thanks, Les. Welcome, everyone. Excited to be here with some great guests and great friends as well to hear about what they're doing. And first show, yeah, going back, I think, kind of in the early discussions with Les, really saw his unique ability to bring an audience and build a community on LinkedIn, and we wanted to find a unique way to do that. And that now how we back then we didn't know what that would become, but fast forward to today, and we just felt like this was a perfect time for us to launch on this platform to get the word out where people already are. And Love Your Energy was a pretty easy choice. Like that goes back to 2016, 17, when we were talking to a lot of executives and trying to get something unique about what we're always asking them, the question of what does energy mean to you, and what do you mean to energy. And there was one guest, and I in particular, she's now the CEO of Sunrun, where she used to be at Green Mountain Power, and she talked about love in a very different way of loving your customers and loving this industry. And that sparked, I think, what now has become our tagline in a lot of ways. But it was probably the first conversation you'd hear like love in a not just in professional setting, but more or less in an energy setting. And that's the genesis of that. And we've taken it and owned it. And in 2009 19, the theme for our Energy Thought Summit conference was Love Your Energy, and it stuck. And we couldn't think of a more perfect name for a show. And it's great to have this first one, and just looking forward to having this conversation and expanding that for sure.
Absolutely, Jason. Yeah, I'm excited as well, and I've always loved the Love Your Energy theme, and I think it's quite appropriate. The Love Your Energy hashtag and the Love Your Energy logo. I remember the first time seeing it and thinking, man, that would make an amazing show. And here we are. So thanks for having that foresight, and definitely excited about it. And that's really what we want to find out from people is what do you love about energy, and what can we do more to love our energy and ultimately feel good about it. So thanks again, Jason. Also, we have Erin on from Zpryme, and she's just coming fresh from California, and I met up with her in Bakersfield. Erin, can you tell us a little bit about your journey, the EV adventure, maybe some takeaways from that?
Sure. Hey, Les, it's good to talk to you again. And it was great to get to meet you in person and hang out in Bakersfield last week. So, my colleague Laurel Morris and I just returned from a California road trip. Zpryme partnered with Esri for this project that is really a perfect example of what Zpryme kind of does and encapsulates. It was a media and research project. Um, so we drove an electric vehicle, the Hyundai Ioniq 5, from Sacramento all the way down to San Diego. The purpose of the trip was really to investigate and learn about the charging infrastructure throughout the state of California. Also to get utility perspectives on EVs and electrification, and then to share what we learned along the way. So it was great partnering with Esri. We were able to use some of their technology to keep track of certain data points and our stops along the way. And we can share a link to show that information. But they created some dashboards for us, so all the information is housed in one place. Um, and that was the purpose of the trip. And one of the stops we made was to visit you in Bakersfield, Les.
I really enjoyed it, and we were there below the famous Bakersfield sign and had a great conversation and some good food. We even found some gluten-free pasta in Bakersfield, so we don't just have good food, we can feed anyone with their preferences on food. So glad Laurel got to eat well while she was here, and it was definitely a good time. So thanks for that. Jason, did you have some thoughts on that trip, and what would you think about? What would you think some themes are that Erin could help us understand on that?
Yeah, Erin, might be good. Maybe share how that came about. That trip itself was a few years in the making, and maybe talk about, if you can briefly, between the original Texas one done in 2019, I think, and the California one just done last week.
Yeah, so in 2019, we did a Texas road trip, and we did that one in a Tesla, and that was it feels like not that long ago, but it also feels like in since then, EVs have just sort of exploded the number that there are available, even the charging infrastructure. Um, but so in Texas, we drove around in Tesla. We went from Austin all the way out to El Paso, up to Dallas, and then back down to Austin with a quick side trip to Houston too. So we really covered almost the entire state. Um, and back then, we found that it was surprisingly doable in the Tesla, even in Texas, kind of driving those long distances. Even out in West Texas, there were every couple hours or couple hundred of miles, there was a Tesla supercharger we could stop at. So back then, I don't think we could have done the same type of trip in a vehicle that wasn't a Tesla. Um, this time, 3 almost exactly 3 years later, um, we picked a non-Tesla on purpose because we wanted to test that and see, like, what about these other vehicles that probably the majority of the population might be more likely to end up driving. Um, and we did find that it was, again, surprisingly surprisingly doable. We found several Electrify America charging stations. Those are the ones we primarily used, and they had fast charging. And so, I think almost every charge of the trip, we used a DC fast charger. And so our average stop time was about 25 minutes, or average charge time was about 25 minutes. Most places that we stopped, there was at least something to do. We were either in a Target parking lot, or at a park that you could walk around. So that was pretty surprising. I wasn't sure what to expect going into the trip.
Yeah, there's some kind of understanding that California is leading, or at least that's the perspective when it comes to technology and innovation. But it's nice to hear and see Texas doing a lot in deployment of renewables as well as charging infrastructure. So it's always nice to see that that's possible. I think it emboldens people to adopt and enroll into the EV ecosystem. And with that, there's some challenges in the infrastructure itself and some opportunities. And so, Emilio, I'd love to hear if you could introduce yourself and share a little bit about Yotta, and something you've just launched as far as EV charging infrastructure. Love to hear about that as well.
Thank you, Les, for having me over. It's been quite a journey for me. I've been uh, fairly new in the renewable energy industry. It's been less than a month than a year for me. I've come from my background is more related into industrial design and architectural applications back in Mexico. But it's been quite a journey in terms of I've learned a lot about how the infrastructure works, the necessities, the market, and technically the whole aspect regarding solar energy, basically. And the past 2 months, it's been EV charging for sure. In Yara, our core business is battery storage or solar or energy storage. Our flagship product is panel level storage solution, which we developed uh, with our own patented phase changing material, which allows the battery to go underneath the solar panels. And this has been very interesting because it has given us a lot of uh, like open applications in the CNI market. And for now, we're looking for expanding our horizons in the EV charging infrastructure, which we all think is at its tipping point, right? And with the REV, which is a product that we're going to be talking about, REV stands for rapid EV charging station, basically, which is 12 kilowatt system purely based on solar. It could be off grid, it could be on grid, but it's totally off grid, and it's customizable and scalable. So we've seen a lot of potential in not just in Texas but nationwide. We're focusing ourselves in selling the REV in like national parks and different applications that require totally off-grid situations. And the REV is, we believe, is one of the best solutions out there.
Amazing. I know Jason has some questions about it, but before I let him ask, I was curious, on the deployment side, who would be your best customer? How would you partner with the industry to deploy the units?
Basically, we were trying to pitch different EV companies. For now, we're trying to look for recreational vehicles applications where they need to uh, expand um, their infrastructure in terms of EV charging. Uh, this said, we need to figure out how to show up the potential of not just EV charging as part of a like a moving around situation, but also for people who rely on getting their vehicles charged where there's absolutely nothing around, like for example, Jeep with their new plug-in hybrid lineup. They need to rely on maybe go uh, off roading, and they need to charge their vehicles, and they're like out there, and there's nothing around, right? So we're basically trying to focus ourselves also in the recreational industry, which is, I think, it has a lot of potential. And regarding the EV charging, I think there's a lot of parking spaces out there, and that they want to comply with the code, and they need the UL certifications and everything to go on grid. But with the REF, we could be totally off grid, and we can be considered as a temporary construction, which makes it out a perfect solution for going around the whole situation. Um, that's where we see the REF being applied the most, right? Where it's considered more like a temporary station and not a fixed one.
Emilio, follow up to that is, what was like the driver to get started on that project? What were you guys starting to see just those gaps, or was it in situations like Florida now where they're having a hard time getting the infrastructure? What were some of those core drivers that sparked the concept behind it?
Basically, where we found ourselves in the position of developing REV was um, basically here in Texas. I mean, we see one of the biggest states. I mean, Texas is a country. It's a country sized considered to other like countries. You know, like the size of Texas could be one one particular country. So we see a lot of countryside that needs that infrastructure, and we don't see none of that coming in the next 3 or 4 years. So by doing this, I think we can go directly to any upgrade application in ranches or places where people need to do like a charge up, and they don't bother to wait that much because they're not willing to pay for DC charging, because our system is now based on a level 2 AC 48 amp charging station charging solution. So that's where we see a lot of people that might be getting into the situation of needing that charge in the countryside, and still there's not a lot of infrastructure.
Amazing. Emilio, I'm in the EV industry as well, and I can say if you can rapidly deploy charging infrastructure, you're going to be way ahead of the curve as far as permitting and interconnection go. It's, as you know, quite a
Exactly.
challenge.
Yeah.
And yeah. And that on that note, Austin Energy has really led, and I was just in Austin for Move 22, and that's it was great to meet Amy Atchley, and I'd like to introduce Amy. And Amy, if you could share a little bit about yourself and Austin Energy, and then if you could, I'm super curious. I think it's worth noting about the special you have for EV charging costs. I was blown away, so I don't want to spill the beans, but if you could again introduce yourself, share a little bit about Austin Energy and that really amazing program you have there.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks so much for having me on, guys. It's a great panel. I'm always interested to hear all the wonderful things going on around the expansion of infrastructure, and then the test rides to actually do these EV journeys on the road to actually put it to the test. Does it work? Can we travel long distances in our EVs? So again, my name is Amy Atchley. I'm with Austin Energy Electric Vehicles and Emerging Technologies. I am the senior lead for the EV Equity Program. I've been with the utility now for about 5.5 years, and I'll tell you, wow, time really flies when you're having fun, because I can't believe I've already surpassed 5 years. But originally, my background is in the nonprofit area. I was in social services. I'm working with vulnerable communities. I was at Meals on Wheels of Central Texas for about 12 years as part of their senior management team there. And then before that was at BH1 Save the Music Foundation, working with youth at risk, restoring music education programs. And so it's, a wonder that I found myself in energy and technology. You never know where your journey will take you, but I had an opportunity to kind of make a life change and work on a program in Austin Energy that was grant funded by the 11th Hour Project, which is part of the Schmidt Family Foundation. And their goals are around social and environmental justice. And so they wanted someone to come in and start having the conversation with communities that are possibly left behind in emerging technologies. And how are we going to accelerate this adoption if we're not speaking with the entire community? So I kind of took a leap of faith and jumped on this project and started a program called EVs Are for Everyone. And that is really to provide program design, electric vehicle outreach, infrastructure deployment for all Austinites with a focus on marginalized communities. And under that EVs are for everyone program, we have a ton of pilots. One of which I'll tell you to address your direct sort of lead in to my introduction, Les, is our affordability program, which is called Plug In Everywhere. And that allows us, it's a subscription program for folks to have unlimited access to our charging stations, our public network, which is 1,400 plus ports in the Austin area. So the subscription for $4.17 a month allows people unlimited access to all of those stations. And it really helps, especially when we have such a high density of the population living in multifamily, because, you know, the multifamily really is one area that needs to be nurtured and developed across the nation. And we've been doing just that. But to be able to provide a public network that people can access for $50 a year, that becomes their new electric fuel cost, is kind of groundbreaking. So it's been exciting to see that expand. I have other programs to talk to you a little bit about, but I wanted to pause for a minute in case you had any other questions.
Yeah, absolutely. I know Jason has some questions, and I just have to say though, before he does, I was blown away by Austin. I used to live in, or I grew up in Texas, but I can say Austin is at the forefront, and I think Austin Energy is really a great example of community engagement and or efforts to engage with the community and make sure no one's left behind. So I just have to applaud that before we continue with questions. It's great to hear and definitely groundbreaking as you described that program. But I think there's a lot of other things you're doing, so I'd love to hear more about that and let Jason take it away.
Yeah, Amy. Yeah, I love all the work you're doing, but this the EVs for schools and that special program, which has not just got national attention, but it's also being expanded here, and we've got to be a bit about that. But maybe talk about that program, how it got started, and where it's going next. Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you. When I first got here, I was trying to figure out, it was really, a great management decision on Carl Popham's part, because he really gave me a lot of creative freedom to kind of jump in and try some things out. And so the first program we launched was called EVs for Schools, and it really is the centerpiece of EVs Are for Everyone. And what it is it's a pilot program where we went in and deployed electric vehicle charging, level 2 charging at Title I schools here in Austin, and combined that with some brilliant curriculum designed and created by our partners at EcoRise. The program, when we went in, we really try to deploy what is called human-centered design programs, and that's where you are utilizing feedback from the community when you design your programs, and that's really where you're going to see success and where we've seen some success. And so we surveyed the school district, all of the teachers, everybody from the teachers to the administration to people who work in the lunchroom and the maintenance people too. We wanted to get their feedback. Who would champion having this program at the school? And are there is there anyone in that school community who drives an EV that would be able to utilize those stations and provide what we call an educational living lab, which is the students seeing their heroes plugging in every day, their teachers, the heroes, and then they're getting that curriculum. So we needed that combination. And we found, and this launched in 2018, and we found that we had several teachers that were driving EVs, and a lot of them were accessing EVs through the used EV market. And so it became pretty competitive because the teachers wanted that workplace charging. They wanted to use that plug-in everywhere, $4.17 a month program, which is $50 a year, to charge while they are at work. So that's a convenience. And then again, the students are so excited about it. They, when we launched this program, we did some interviews with Zpryme, helped conduct some very important interviews, and the students really light up when you talk about climate change and climate impact, because they know that this is going to be one of the greatest challenges of their era, and they want to be a part of the solution. So the children and students are embracing it, and they are going home and talking to mom and dad about this at the dinner table. Conversation is shifting. And now we're starting to look at what is normalizing this behavior. The parents are getting excited. They want to be cool, just like their kids are. And so they decide, let me look at this from an affordability standpoint. Let me understand this technology. Is this something that I can even consider? Because, my family's been driving Ford for generations, and Uncle Joe services those Fords. So it's really breaking down behavior chain or behavior, and making that shift. And so that's one of the ways we do it is with the education. And you mentioned, Les, the outreach, community engagement. And so we work in all kinds of the ecosystem of transportation electrification. And we really are out there in the community conducting electric e-bike demos, working with the students. We've got a VR, really awesome VR that we created with Zpryme, and we conduct those with the students, and also at events with adults. And we find that the students really get it immediately, and the adults take a minute to kind of figure out how to use it. And I will say I was one of those who took a while to figure out how to use it, but I got a little dizzy in the beginning, but now I'm good. But we do see that value in community engagement, and it's about the kind of the most important thing that you can do, which is that education and marketing and outreach, and really bringing it to the community.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's good to point out that both Yotta and what Austin Energy do are Austin, and so I'm glad we kicked off this first with some of the innovation happening here. And before we jump to questions, just want to hear, Amy, where can we find you next? Or I'm sorry, Erin, when you start there, where you be at next? Where can people meet up with you?
Yeah, so this coming Monday, Halloween, Laurel and I will be back out in California. We're going to Palm Springs, and we'll be giving a keynote presentation at Esri's IMGIS event. So we're very excited about that. I believe you can stream the session too, so if anyone wants to watch it.
Thank you. And Amy, where you and the team going to be at?
Yeah, we've got a busy time coming up. Before I get into that, though, real quick, I wanted to make a connection with Emilio, because I think you'll appreciate this. All of these stations that are in that public network that I mentioned at Austin Energy are powered by 100% Texas Wind through our Green Choice Renewable Credits program. And so we really are working towards, becoming carbon neutral. And so we're ensuring that when people are plugging those EVs in, that they are getting that renewable resource. So I really appreciate what you're doing, Emilio, with solar, and I look forward to learning more about that. So where I will be next week, on November 2nd, if you're in town for the Internet of Things conference, I will be on a panel. It's going to be a really cool panel with various industry people led by University of Texas engineer and energy experts. And it's called The Future of Transportation at 3:00 at the Convention Center at Austin, Texas. And then again on November 2nd in the evening, we have a wonderful event. It's the Austin Forum on Technology and Society. They're doing a feature on transportation electrification and the future of electricity. It's going to be an awesome event at the Austin Energy headquarters, which is just opening to the public now since the pandemic. And it's a brand new building that is 5-star rated from our Green Building and LEED program. And then we will we'll kick off the event at 5:15 p.m. And there's going to be live music. There's going to be tacos. There's going to be swag, and there's going to be some. Are there going to be VR demos? I think there are going to be some VR demos. Yes, there are VR demos from that I mentioned to you earlier. The Zpryme and Frolic team is going to be out conducting those. And then after that, Carl Popham will speak on energy. So we're looking forward to it. And anybody who's in for the long haul will be down at BD Riley's for after party, which is just walking distance from the Austin Energy headquarters. And then if that isn't enough, if you are in the Austin area or if you are in the transportation electrification industry, there is a huge event. It's one of the largest electric vehicle events in the country. And I say one of the largest because the same entity has reproduced this across the US and Seattle. And I think it was San Diego, New York, Florida, and or maybe it was Long Beach, and now Austin. And it's the second iteration this year. It's on November 11th through the 13th. The industry day is November 11th, and then it's going to be open to the public on that Saturday and Sunday, the 12th and 13th. Last year, there were about 20,000 electric vehicle demos to include tons of new electric cars that are on the market or that will be on the market in the very near future. There's also electric bikes, there's scooters, anything electric mobility. It's so exciting. If you're an Austin Energy customer, you can go to our social media page and get a 20% discount to buy that ticket and to attend.
Awesome. And Emilio, Yotta, you guys are going doing and seeing a lot of work. If people find you guys.
So sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Oh, just try to see if you can let the audience know where's Yotta going to be at. Where can they go to find you guys at a show or more information?
Sure.
Project.
Sure. Yeah. We're here. We're based in Austin, Texas. We're here by San Elmo. You can always pass by, and we'll be happy to receive every one of you, and we'll talk about REV or any of the solutions that we have in the energy industry. We would like to be part of the event Amy was talking about, the EV. I forgot the name.
Electrify Expo.
Exactly. Yeah, we just want to go there. We just want to show the REV. We're not doing any installations, but we want to have people showing the REV, and I think it's gonna be good. We're gonna have good exposure there, and that's basically it. We're very interested in growing side by side with the EV market, which is huge. Like I said before, it's at its tipping point, and I really think providing our services and products alongside Austin Energy and other commissions, I think we can really have a bright future in renewable energy. And yeah, we're here based in Austin, and we'll be here whenever you guys need something. We're based in our address is 2101 East St. Elmo. We're very close to the airport, so yeah, we'll be happy to receive you here.
Amazing, Emilio. So we have about 10 minutes scheduled and left here. So if anyone has ever been on one of these meetings before or not, what you do is you can raise your hand. So if anybody has a question they'd like to ask one of these amazing panelists, we'll bring you up on the stage to ask. And in the meantime, while we're waiting to see if we have some questions, I'd like to ask everyone just in general, starting with Jason, what you love about energy, and what you think we can maybe do to get more folks to love energy. And then I'd love it to have everyone answer that question. And then if we have some questions from the audience, feel free to raise your hands. We'll look forward to it. So go ahead, Jason.
Thank you. Great one. I think love it. It's just the industry itself, just a passion that people bring to the table. I think that's key. In terms of what we do is probably where what a lot of this group is here doing, especially Amy and the education and getting the word out is something that we need to take be very deliberate and passionate about and intentional is key to get more people to really love and embrace it more. So I'll stop there.
I can go
We're
next.
waiting
I
for
would
you, Amy.
say I think for me it's well, one of the things is that there's so much to learn and things are always changing and I'm always learning something new, which is fun and exciting. And then just to echo what Jason said, when we met with all the utility people out in California, they were all super optimistic and passionate about what they were doing. And it's just fun to talk to people who are excited like that.
Amazing. Yeah, I agree. What about you, Amy?
Yeah, well, I mean, I have to agree with Erin. I think it is such an exciting time to be in energy and particularly renewable energy. And I think for young people to start envisioning themselves in a career of energy, that gets me really excited. And I love to be able to help students start thinking about that and the empowering them to kind of go for that. I also want to say that energy, the kind of definition of energy, right, is strength and vitality. And I think that, you know, it's so important that energy be accessible to everyone in our community. It should be basic needs and right for everyone to have access to that, whether it's turning the lights on or having access to digital technology such as Wi-Fi, bare basics. There's so much good that can be done, and so it's been wonderful for me to kind of understand and follow sort of my passion to make the world a better place through energy.
Lovely. I really appreciate that description. Before I share what I think as well, I'd love to hear, Emilio, what do you love about energy yourself?
I really love energy in all its senses. I mean, I think it's been exciting these past few months for me, coming from like absolutely something different that I did for a living, and coming here to the U.S. and learning a lot in the past months. We Since we're basically focused on renewable energy, I found very interesting how we can really engage with nature and provide, and I mean not just provide, like fulfill ourselves with whatever is out there, you know, like celestial energy. And that's I think I've heard it from before, like it's like the celestial power, just, you know, like wind and solar, which is free for everyone, and we haven't really taken advantage of it. uh it's, I don't know how it hasn't become a trend before, you know, like it's very interesting how um, we can manage to get so much from nature, and still many people believe that's not the right path to go to, you know, like talking about specifically in solar, in the solar business. We've been charging, we have a saying here in the company that charging our vehicles with solar not only makes it uh, a better solution, but the best solution, because we've been charging the EV companies, the company's EVs with solar for the past 6 months. It's amazing, you know, just to come here and charge your vehicle with solar and not worrying about anything else. Like, is there gonna be a bill around, or am I gonna get like uh, charged for? You know, like it's very inspiring. You know.
I agree. And for me, I think simply what I would say is I love how energy brings people together. And whether it be on a local basis where, communities are, for example, in Bakersfield going through the energy transition, or just in general online. And what I found is that it's super exciting topic, energy, and people are generally very, encouraged by positive and conversation. So for me, what I love about energy is how it brings people together. We do have Chris on the stage, and love to hear your question, Chris. If you could unmute yourself.
Yeah. So can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I wrote in, but I signed on a bit late. Question for Amy: does Austin's $50 a year program include unlimited charging, and if so, how is that funded?
So it does. It's unlimited charging access, and it's funded. So we're the third largest publicly owned city owned utility in the United States, and so we have budget for our programs, and we get that budget. It's basically any revenue that's generated from the energy consumption in the community goes right back into the community. So that's pretty much how it's funded.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you,
You're
Amy.
welcome.
Yeah. And thank you, Chris, for the question. So looks like we're really close to the end here, and I want to thank everyone for being here. This is the first episode, but it's hopefully the first of many to come. And just as a context for what Love Your Energy is, for those who came in a little later, we're going to be covering on the show breaking news, trends, and research. A lot of those trends and research are going to be provided by Zpryme, and the show is brought to you by Zpryme. This particular episode is made possible by Esri. We'll also, like we did today, have exclusive panels and interviews, as well as events and live broadcasts. So thank you all for being here. Thank you, Jason, Erin, Emilio, and Amy, and everyone who joined us today. This will also be shared and recorded in podcast format. So stay tuned and we'll share that with you as well. Thank you all for being here. Make sure and follow the Love Your Energy hashtag on LinkedIn. It'll be a one-click library for our shows. We'll make sure and use that hashtag so you can find us. And with this particular event, we may do a different time, so stay tuned, different day. And thank you again all for being here.
Thank you for having me. Great
Thanks so
to
much,
chat
guys.
with y'all.
Thank you, Chris, for joining. See everyone.
Thank you.